During a summer holidays in Godavari in Georgia, far away from the heat of Dubai, I was having a conversation with my son. He is due to go to university in a couple of years. I was chatting to him about his career choices. And frankly, while accounting is not one of his choices, he is looking at a wide range of subjects, far different from what was available back in the day. And he said something to me. He said something to me that has got me thinking ever since. Something that has made me relook at my own role, my importance in the organization. He said to me, Dad, when I graduate, will your role still be important or even relevant? In the 2 decades that I've been working, I have seen the finance function evolve significantly, make changes, automate processes, and actually have a seat at a decision making table. But just like Kodak, which dominated the photography industry, is finance today dominating the space but actually awaiting what we call, instead of the Kodak moment, the new Kodak moment? A moment when you realize that what you're doing is no longer relevant. The things have changed so much from your assumptions that it is too late to change and catch up. It's too late to be relevant. Is there a possibility that there'll be even a finance function as we know it today? Will this be the future operating model where finance is sort of overrun by other functions, where different aspects of finance are overtaken by other functions, planning and budgeting, going off to operations, transactional activities completely automated, core activities like finance statements and close automated as well, run by different functions, analytics led by business, maybe a center of excellence. Of course, headcount would be very low and there would be only specialists left in finance, maybe IFRS, tax, compliance, risk management, and so on. So the finance team ceases to exist. Is this a possibility? Well, for sure, it is a possibility. But it is for finance to wake up and to challenge this situation. Finance has done a variety of things over the years. It has made incremental changes, like I said, automated processes. The function has reduced significant cost, offshored certain activities to locations of scale, retaining activities in core centers, made efficiency gains, or run a bit of robotic process automation, which has been there for a while now. There are teams which focus on value added activities, and finance is now a trusted business partner. But all said and done, finance still has some hobby activities, some manual processes, which are still ongoing in the function. For sure, finance is doing more. No, not more, better with less. But today, the writing is on the wall and finance needs to change ASAP. Why? Why does finance need to change? Look at the rapidly changing business environment. There are varieties of forces, both internal and external, affecting the finance function. To start off, automation. I spoke of RPA, but there are various kinds of automation now available to function, to do the repetitive tasks and put them away. Of course, the business models have changed. COVID is a such big example where the companies change their business models altogether. And there is an expectation from the finance team to step up and support the business in the new setup. Regulatory norms have changed significantly. Requirements from regulators in terms of reporting, in terms of compliance, in terms of taxation has changed significantly. The real thing which of course has hit finance is digitalization, where we have an overwhelming set of data And finance is now faced with not only standard structured data, but also unstructured data. How do you make sense of all this? And of course, we have machine learning, we have AI solutions, and finance is to make sense of all of this. Finance has done well in one aspect when it came to efficiency and effectiveness, but now the net needs to be cast far wider, looking for opportunities beyond the regular transactional activities which are automated. In really high growth companies, smaller companies, finance's role cannot be just scorekeeping and stewardship. A lot more is expected of the CFO in terms of taking the organization forward. And with all these intelligent technologies that we have today, is there a method by which we can upskill the finance team, which is seriously short on skills, with a bridge to cross when it comes to skills? Can we look to use the intelligent technologies to accelerate skills acquisition? Finance needs to adapt very quickly. Herein, I'm borrowing heavily from Jemima Kelly's article in the FT. Finance, I completely believe, has the curse of expertise, wherein you're an expert in a particular subject and you become less willing to listen to other viewpoints. Finance has this trap of overestimating its own knowledge or importance in the organization. Finance needs to overcome this. Also, the traditional model of reducing cost and more insights is outdated. Finance is needed to support the organization in multiple ways. The earlier finance recognizes this, the better. Adversity, in midst of adversity comes opportunity. And this is a real opportunity. So finance needs to see the situation as an opportunity to own the future and carve its own legacy. Embrace the opportunity. Gone are the days when finance used to be the backroom player, providing information or at best advisory. Finance now needs to play a more dynamic, facilitative role and actually guide the business, show the path forward. Shoshin, which is the approach, Japanese approach, where you approach the new with a beginner's mindset, a concept from Zen Buddhism, which says that no matter how advanced or how much an experience you have or you're an expert, you should approach things with the same enthusiasm, the same flexibility, curiosity, as would any new person with a desire to learn and absorb things. This would be very critical as finance gets onto this journey of totally sort of remodeling its function. I have laid out here what I think could be the approach to take finance and build the organization for the future. I've got five or buckets here, sort of, when I look to call out how finance should steer the overall organization performance, become the real custodian of performance, how finance would engage with stakeholders, internal and external, and actually delight them, how finance can plan for uncertainty, and how finance can become a lean hybrid function and also acquire skills using all the intelligent technologies. Of course, the CFO's role has to move from being a CFO to a CPO, a Chief Performance Officer. The CFO needs to look well beyond the financial sphere and all aspects of the performance of the business. The CFO is best placed right at the center of the organization to make this difference. And performance, not on its own, but performance based on the corporate purpose of the organization. CFOs need to consider new things which are coming up now and actually look more into the future. They need to currently consider sustainability, societal impact, and not from a perspective of disclosure or meeting investor expectations. Look to build business models, look to provide information which helps make a differentiating decision, which helps choose their company over another for all the right things. Finance, like I said previously, the CFO needs to take a role which is not advisory anymore, but more a leading role in strategic decision making. And how would we steer this organizational performance from a finance team perspective? In terms of finance teams steering organization performance, the absolute imperative is creating the right environment. The ambience where teams can openly discuss, challenge, review, and actually decide on future actions. Finance absolutely needs to move away from rigid processes, static budgeting, and it needs to create the right environment to steer to success. The performance framework also needs to evolve along with this. It needs to mirror the business needs and goals. And finance needs to own this bit. Finance also needs to continue obviously analyzing the past, but look at future possibilities and future courses of action, which could help the business take better decisions. Something very dear to me is scenario planning and scenario management. This is very key for any organization. Think of COVID and how it impacted organizations. Nobody had modeled for a scenario like COVID, but so many outcomes came out of that one scenario, which played out for real. So finance needs to plan for situations which may seem unreal today, which may not seem plausible, support with the right analysis. And while variety of teams will all have their inputs into the scenario planning, finance needs to lead the scenario management process and weave everything together and present it in a form where senior management can review and take mitigating actions. When it comes to new business, finance needs to be on point and run predictive analysis of what an outcome would be with a new action, a new product, a new business, so on and so forth. In terms of forecasts, gone are the days when we're going to be running numbers, dated numbers. Forecasts need to be real time, and finance needs to be supporting the organization's growth and agility. Data. Today we have data. We had structured data previously, now with social media and all other data touch points, we have unstructured data. Finance needs to up its game or at least hire for skills where there can be sharper analytical capabilities in the use of digital big data. In terms of view for the senior management, there needs to be drag and drop analytics dashboard. Something like a plug and play and shift so that they can see what would happen if scenarios were to change. Finance teams need to orient themselves differently. They need to be flexible. They need to acquire skills which now support the business's growth and ambition and innovation. In terms of alignment of teams, instead of being a solo, hidden away function, the team needs to align to support business strategy. And above all, finance needs to develop the ability to look into the future, provide a window into the future. When it comes to stakeholder engagement, and there can be customers, there will be regulators, there's a society angle, there are shareholders. Traditional reporting doesn't work. We need to report on sustainability metrics. How are we progressing against strategy? Finance needs to act as a facilitator. Of course, get the information, analyze the information, make sense of the information, but provide it in a form to the users so that they can seek their own version of truth. Similar to the dashboard where one can make changes and see what the outcomes are, the users of our data need to be able to run their own analysis to make up their mind. So finance needs to bridge the information gap and provide that interactive data. Aside of this, with ESG and other society considerations, finance needs to provide a total impact analysis, moving beyond traditional metrics. When it comes to scenario management, and I alluded to this before, uh, the great economist Daniel Kahneman says scenario by definition is always optimistic. So scenario planning can seriously underestimate the risk of failure. Like we did not plan for COVID-19. So we need to plan for uncertainty, and finance needs to own the scenario planning where there are multiple teams feeding into it, maybe financial data, credit risk, market risk, treasury risk, capital risk, cost inputs, revenue inputs, strategy inputs, and other non-financial inputs as well. Finance needs to weave all of this together, run the models and make sense of the data, help senior management take a decision, build mitigation plans. Of course, with COVID-19, we saw several banks having totally different reactions, having to step up, work away from the traditional model, make significant changes to the operating model, provide various support schemes to their customers, deliver government packages, while also trying to be profitable. So finance needs to be able to model for a scenario like this with an outcome which comes out, which plays out in that the firm is still able to mitigate the situation and able to come out of the situation successfully. How would we plan for uncertainty? What does finance need to do from its perspective? Of course, finance will lead the scenario planning and management, like I said. But finance needs to provide appropriate guidance on outcomes for financial contingencies, whether it be adaptation of the organization, complete transformation of the organization, or even survival of the organization, given its journey and the scenario being discussed. Finance needs to have an adaptive approach to resource allocation. And also, very critically, finance needs to develop capabilities to communicate response during crisis so the information is clear and the response is clear to the stakeholders. In terms of a lean hybrid function, how would this look? How would you build advanced capabilities? Automation is straightforward. Finance needs to automate all the main processes end to end. It needs to improve the availability and accessibility of data. On a hybrid structure, here it's man and machine. So a lot of work could be automated, could be coming out as an output from the machine, but final inference would be finance. So there needs to be a symbiosis of the finance specialists and the digital ecosystem. And digital here will include artificial intelligence, machine learning, and advanced analytics. Integrate finance employees and the digital capabilities. What this would do is promote efficiency and also provide that much needed space to perform value added tasks. There is always a scare as to what will happen to our roles. The roles will evolve, but it could be augmentation of roles. Some roles or changes that I can foresee are specialists would be in a center of excellence. There'll be people we could call value leaders who are aligned to business and are really driving the business strategy forward. And of course, we will need new people who understand the digital ecosystem to administer the digital ecosystem for the finance team, yeah, to make the changes. So we have all these intelligent technologies, and they seem to be making our roles redundant. We saw it really is not making our role redundant, but it's just augmenting roles probably. But how do we turn this around? How do we use intelligent technologies to acquire skills? The big skill gap that we are seeing in the organization. Finance has a serious shortage of skills, and there's a skills crisis. For the future, to serve businesses, the skills needed are very different from what we have today. Obviously, there's an opportunity to put away certain activities, augment our roles, and elevate our work. How do we do this? How do we use technology, which is sort of infringed on the finance domain and has put a premium on human skills, given a lot of activities are automated, put a premium on human skills like empathy, creativity, and critical thinking? How do we develop these skills, which all finance professionals may not have, given they are traditional accountants? Well, for one, experiential learning is key. We need to speed up experiential learning for the team. And here I truly believe we need to leverage artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence to personalize learning, which will improve relevance based on our progress with a particular training, adapt to our skill level, and heighten the impact for each individual person to have their own best outcomes. So we really need to leverage AI. More than anything, individuals in the future need to take ownership for their own development. It's the organization versus the individual. The organization can provide the environment, but the ownership needs to be with the individual. Building communication skills, telling the story, communicating output will be key. Virtual reality, and obviously we know of one huge financial institution which has rolled out virtual training across its locations for all employees. But VR training could help finance employees to practice a range of routine and complex tasks, do them in that environment by stimulating interactions through a virtual environment, learn, fail, but improve. So it's very critical that we leverage this wonderful technology, some of which has displaced some of our roles, to actually augment our own roles. Like the Argentinian president said, the future of work will be a race between education and technology, and education is not going to keep pace. So I would just reiterate that individuals need to take ownership of their own skills, to develop their own skills, and ownership for their own development. I firmly believe if we were to do work on all the 5 aspects that I spoke of, the finance will be much better placed in the future. And hopefully, when my son completes his graduation, I still have my job. Thank you.